Hello, my crafty friends. All right, so we are going to get right into the project. So I have a couple of these bamboo cutting boards from the Dollar Tree, along with some Dollar Tree wood glue, some beads, and some bamboo skewers. So I want to make a riser out of these bamboo cutting boards from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to take these beads and using one of the Dollar Tree bamboo skewers, I'm going to put the beads onto the skewer. So the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to make this riser. It's going to have both of these bamboo cutting boards. And by using the bamboo skewer, I can line up the beads very easily. And this is going to be one side. So then I just take a little bit of Dollar Tree wood glue, put it along one side, and then I put the bamboo skewer full of beads onto the long side. Then I repeat the process on the other long side. Now for the two shorter sides, I'm just going to take the beads and I'm going to stand them up so that the holes are going to be on the top. So you won't see the holes at all for the most part all the way around this riser. I repeated the process on the other short side of the bamboo cutting board. And while that was drying, I took a few knobs. These are just wooden knobs, and I think I got these at Hobby Lobby, but I'm just going to use these knobs as feet for the riser. So on the other bamboo cutting board, I'm going to attach those knobs, one to each corner, and then let it dry. And once both of the cutting boards had dried, I came back with some more Dollar Tree wood glue and I put a little bit of wood glue onto all of the top of the beads on the first cutting board that I had been working on. And once I had enough glue on the beads, then I basically sandwiched both of the cutting boards together. And the fun part was I got to remove the bamboo skewers, and just like that, I have a really pretty riser. So I'm going to take some Dixie Belle coffee bean chalk paint, and I'm going to paint the entire riser. Now, if you wanted to leave this plain and have a natural look, you could totally do that, but I wanted a dark finish to the riser. So I was very careful and just used a little bit of the Dixie Belle chalk paint because a little bit goes a long way. And I painted all of the sides where the beads were, and then I came back and painted the top and the bottom of the cutting boards. So any of the natural color, that's all going to be covered up with the Dixie Belle coffee bean paint. I really like this color. Now, once that was all dry, I came back with some acrylic paint. I believe this was in Antique Parchment by Folk Art. And I lightly brushed a little bit of the lighter color all over the riser. I just want to highlight a little bit so you can still see most of that darker color, but I really wanted to lighten it up with a little bit of that acrylic paint. And I made sure to do all of the sides, and I even did the bottom as well. And look at that. Isn't that pretty? This was such an easy project. Most of the supplies did come from the Dollar Tree with the exception of the wood beads that I found on Amazon. But I like making risers like this. You can find these on Etsy and they'll cost around $30, but I was able to make this for less than $5 if you don't count the chalk paint. The Dixie Belle chalk paint, while it's a little bit more expensive, I've been really impressed with this paint and I love it, and a little bit does go a long way, so to me it is totally worth it when I'm taking Dollar Tree supplies and I want to make the end result look really high end. Now, if you go to Dollar Tree right now, you can find these wooden houses. Now, I really like this. It was so cute. I love the shape, but I wasn't too crazy about the words. I want to make this more original and more my own. So first I removed the roof line from the wooden house. It was really easy to remove. There wasn't much glue holding it onto the piece. Then I came back with a sander and I sanded down all of the words. I am going to be using this in my Valentine decor, but I wanted it to be a little bit simpler and I didn't want any words on the house. But I did really like the pink color, but I think I was looking for a more soft pink color. So once I sanded down all of the words off of the house and used a towel to remove any of the dust, then I came back with some Folk Art multi-surface pink paint. Now I really liked this paint. I thought it was pretty, but as I put it onto the house, I noticed it was pretty much the same color that the house already was. So I did decide to lighten it up a little bit with a softer pink, and it's actually a Folk Art chalk paint in pink that I used to get the color that I wanted this house to be. And once I was happy with the color and it was dry, I came back with some Dixie Belle. I don't know what color this is. It's like cream puff or something. I can't remember, but it's kind of a cream color. And I lightly brushed some of that paint across all over the house because I want my house to look a little more rustic. And once that was dry, I did sand off some of the paint that I had just added, but this is going to give it a more rustic look. And I'm going to be adding some beads, but I didn't have any pink beads, so I took a little bit of paint and just put the beads into the paint, and then I wiped off the excess. I don't want these to have a solid pink color. I want them to look kind of faded. So I find that by wiping off some of the paint while it's still wet will give it a softer appearance on the beads. And while my beads were drying, then I came back with a little bit of distressing ink and I lightly brushed that around all of the sides of the house. This is definitely a way to get a little bit of antique or a more rustic appearance on the projects that you're working on. Now, I was really tempted to add a little bit of that distressing ink to the center of the house, but I refrained and just kept it on the outer outline. Next, I came back with some jute twine and I had a bundle of it. I believe there were 6 strands and I just want it right at the roof line of the house. So I'm going to secure it to the back of the house using some hot glue. And these silicone sticks really help that I can push the glue down into the project and not burn my fingers. Next, I wrapped the strands of the jute twine around the front of the house, and then I just secured the other side to the back of the house as well. And once the jute had time to dry, I did trim off the excess. Now, I didn't have any raffia, but I did have a Dollar Tree hula skirt. This works really well if you need raffia, but you don't have any, because I want to have a raffia bow for the house. So I just cut off a few strands of the hula skirt, and then I tied a bow. So this is just a basic bow that you would tie like on your shoelace. And then I just moved the bow parts themselves a little bit to get them to be the size that I wanted. So I'm going to attach this to the jute twine, but I wanted to put the beads on first. And I found this tool on Amazon. It is so helpful if you are stringing beads together. It makes it much easier. So I took a pink bead, a white bead, and a natural bead. Then I took some jute twine, and using that beading tool, I just pulled the beads onto the jute. Next, I just tied a square knot in the bottom of one side of the jute. I put the beads where I wanted them to be at the end, and then I just removed the excess jute. I did leave a little bit of extra jute so it's longer on one end because I'm duplicating the process with another strand of beads. Then I'm going to tie them together. And then using a little bit of hot glue on the first jute twine that's on the house, then I secured the 2 strands of the beads. Next, I took my hula skirt bow that's supposed to be a raffia bow, and I secured that right on top of the bead strands that were hanging down. And that is pretty much it. This is such an easy project. No crickets required. Unless you want to leave the words, you can. You could probably lightly brush the paint over top of the lettering and the words that are already on this house. But I wanted it to be simple, I wanted it to be plain, and it makes me really happy with how this turned out. I think this will make a great addition to my Valentine decor this year. And I think it looks nice with the riser as well. What do you think? And keeping on with the Valentine's theme, I found these hearts at Dollar Tree. This was on my last Dollar Tree outing. Look at these cute conversation hearts. They are really nice, thick pieces of wood. And there's so many different ways that you can use these in your decorating. But I'm gonna have these be simple, so I'm gonna go ahead and sand down the lettering on each of the hearts. And for this project, I am going to be using 3 hearts. Now, I wasn't quite sure what colors I wanted these to be, so I did use different shades of pink for one of the hearts. I added in a little bit of purple because I was kind of looking for more of a mauve-y pink, and these are just acrylic paints. Nothing fancy with these. They're like 50 cents at Walmart. And I do like that pink, but it's a little too pink. So I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna come over to the other 2 hearts that I have, and I'm going to paint them. And this is just white acrylic paint. Now there's my first heart, that's the pink one. And again, it's a little too pink for what I was wanting. So I came back with some red acrylic paint as well as some purple. And I just mixed the colors together until I got the color that I wanted. And this was a little bit of a softer pink, kind of a red color almost. And I do like this. I think this is going to look good for this project. Next, I used some smaller wood hearts and I painted them that same red color. And then I just set them to dry. And once everything was dry, I came back with a deeper red paint and I used that for one of the hearts. I just lightly dry brushed that paint onto the heart just so it's kind of picking up some of the shadows and looks like shadows and highlights. Next, I came back with some antique parchment paint and I put that onto the red heart. Again, just using a dry brush technique, so there isn't very much paint on the brush, and I just lightly brushed it across the surface. Now on the third heart, I wanted to have some polka dots. And I don't have anything that I can make polka dots with, but I found if you use just a smaller paintbrush and move your fingers around like in a circle, you can get some really nice polka dots with pretty close to perfect circles. So I just added some random polka dots to my heart. I like that. And when the hearts were all dry, I came back with some sandpaper and lightly sanded off some of the paint. I did this on each of the hearts. I really liked doing it on the polka dots because it really gave them a rustic appearance. Next, I did the same thing. I just sanded down some of the edges and some of the paint off the smaller hearts. Next, I used a little bit of distressing ink on the small hearts. I like to use the distressing ink because it really does give it more of an aged appearance, and it will make the colors a little bit different when I put them onto the bigger hearts. And I wanted to add a little dimension to each of the smaller hearts, so I came back with some very small pieces of jute, and I made loops and secured 3 or 4 loops on each side of those tiny hearts. And then I added some jute twine to each of these hearts. Now, what's fun with these conversation hearts from the Dollar Tree is they are large enough and thick enough that they will stand up on their side all by themselves. You don't have to add anything extra to them. So I wanted to make these hearts look like they were all part of a collection. So even though they're different, they are going to have some similarities. So I'm using a little bit of jute twine that I tied together, and I secured that on the front of each of the hearts, just over the middle, and then I separated the strands and glued them to the back side of the heart. And on each heart, I did use a different number of strands. So on this one, on the one side, it has 4 strands of the jute, and each strand is secured separately onto the back of the heart. Then I took another bundle of jute twine and I secured it close to the other section of jute, and using my hot glue gun, I just pushed that down. I'm not going to have this side wrap around the heart, but it's going to go just to the edge. And the reason I did that, like I said, I'm going to have these stand up on their side, and if that jute is going around the side, then that could interfere with how it's going to stand up. And I wanted to add a little bit of something extra to the smaller hearts. So I took some Dollar Tree ribbon and just secured that to the back of the heart, so you'll still be able to see it from the front side, but I secured that around the back of the smaller heart. And I did this 3 times, 1 small heart for each of the larger hearts. And then using my hot glue, I put the smaller heart onto the larger heart, securing it right where those 2 pieces of jute had been put on the front of the heart. Now I did decorate each of these hearts differently but that is what is so much fun with crafts, is you can do whatever you want. Hopefully this will inspire you, give you a few ideas of different ways that you could adorn or decorate the conversation hearts that the Dollar Tree has right now. Now, on my last trip to Dollar Tree, I found these frames and they are so pretty. They don't have any glass in them and they actually are really pretty just on their own, but I thought this would be perfect for a Valentine's craft. So I removed the backing and all of the contents from the frame, and this is what I was left with. Now, I do like the gold like that, but I thought I could dress this up a little bit. So I took some Dixie Belle coffee bean chalk paint and I painted the entire frame with the Dixie Belle paint. I think you could probably use acrylic paint with this as well. Once I had the frame completely painted and it had time to dry, then I came back with some antique gold rub and buff, and I used a little dauber to add a little bit of that rub and buff to the frame. Now, I know this is kind of similar to what the frame looked like before, but I think the darker base color of the frame really adds to it and makes it look a lot more high-end than just a plastic frame from the Dollar Tree. I did add a little bit of rub and buff to the sides of the frame as well, so it looks more like it's meant to be that way and not just being painted on the top side of the frame. I have been really impressed with the things I've been finding at Dollar Tree lately. Next, I came back with some craft sticks, and using some Dixie Belle antiquing wax, I just added a little bit of that wax to a bunch of craft sticks because I'm going to put this into the back of the frame. But I don't want them to be dark. I want them to have different shades of brown and some of the natural on them. So there's different shades of colors on the craft sticks. Then I applied some glue to the back of the frame. And secured each of the craft sticks in place. And then I just put everything back together so the frame is exactly like it was, only a little bit better than when I got it from Dollar Tree. Now, like I said, I want to use this for my Valentine decor, so I have this wooden heart and I thought about putting that in place, but I have seen a lot of people doing button crafts right now, and I have a lot of buttons, so I thought it would be fun to take red and shades of red buttons and make a heart. I probably could have done this by tracing a heart onto the backing, but I decided just to wing it, and I just kept adding different red buttons and pink buttons to the heart. Now, I did speed the video up, obviously, but I wanted you to see the process of putting all of the buttons together. So it did take a little bit of time, but honestly, I think it was totally worth it. It may not be a perfect heart, but I really like how that turned out. And honestly, I love how each of these projects turned out. They were all so easy to do. There really was not a lot of skill involved, just a little bit of my imagination in trying to come up with some original decor for my Valentine decorating. And believe it or not, I actually have a few more ideas for Valentine decor that I want to share with you. And if you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe to my channel? Just click that subscribe button. Go on, click it. And if you click the bell notification, you'll get an alert every time I have a new video coming out. And right now I have a few more Valentine DIYs I want to share with you, along with a lot of other decor ideas that are easy to make. They are very affordable, and you can have some new decorating items to add to your home this year. And if you like this video, I have a lot of other ones I think you'll like as well. Happy crafting!